CFL All-Star receiver Kenny Lawler, who of course plays for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, joins us. Kenny, you had an unbelievable year last year, over 1,400 yards receiving, 14 touchdowns, which I just found out you like the most. You really like getting those touchdowns.
I do.
What was it like for you in terms of the start that you had and then the way that you saw defenses changing up their coverages on you?
From the start of the year, we've seen a little bit of the coverages not being rolled my way. When it was man coverage, we've seen, a lot more typical man on man, right? Which led to just big games, big numbers, right? So throughout the course of the year, defenses weren't going to let me beat them. They were going to let the whole offense in a whole, have to contribute to the win. And it's great, we were able to still have success with that. And, just being the threat that I was able to make myself at the beginning of the season really helped our offense and just take tremendous strides. If you're going to double team me, if you're going to roll the coverage my way, we got guys on the other side that are going to eat and take advantage of every one-on-one coverage that they have. And, Bo's going to do his best to find them. And, that's the beauty of it, how we're all the players on our offense are able to complement each other very well when it comes to our run, when it comes to our pass, and when it comes to our receivers, right? When it comes to our head coach calling the plays, like we're very much all intact, all on the same page, and man, it just creates and causes for just great numbers.
Some of the early season projections last year were insane. Like if you carried on that pace, you would have been well over 2,000 yards. That's only been done by a very select group of players. Do you think 2,000 yards is possible for Kenny Lawler?
I think it is possible. I do think it is possible. I got a great team, great coaching staff. But what I say is the goal, because if I was to get 1,800, if I was to get 1,200, I think it would be enough where, to help us win. Just because, I'm not the only one on this team, we're going to be having just such a crazy amount of veterans at the wide receiver position, right? So, I think the ball is going to be getting spread around a lot, like we've seen in the past couple of years, past years. So, as much as, I'd love to, put myself in that company with those grades, I do think it is a realistic stat for me. But am I chasing it? Nah, the only thing I'd be chasing is that Grey Cup.
Is the Ticats receiving group, as currently constructed, the best in the league?
I think so. When it comes to, the talent that we have, just the different types of receivers that we have, just we're going to be very dangerous, Yeah, obviously we lost Tim White, right? But, we were still able to retain, Shamar. And let's not forget about Shamar. Yeah, he had the targets, not seeing as many targets as he's seen his first year, but you get him the rock, you're going to see the numbers. And I think we're going to be doing a lot of that. Then we also, added Carrick Weefall, someone who I think is, severely slept on, very underrated, someone who gets highlighted because he's a speedster, but I think he runs great routes. I think when the ball is in the air, he goes up and high points it with some of the best. So, I'm expecting him to have a great year this year. Along with, with the addition of Curly, right? Our receiving core is just so deep with just unique talent. So yeah, man, like on paper right now, yeah, we're the best in the league. We just got to go prove it game in and game out now.
Does look really good. Add Keandre Smith into the mix, who
Oh,
had a great season last year.
Can't forget about Keith, man. Like popped out for real.
Did you have a role in Carrick Weepball coming to Hamilton?
I hate to say I had a role in things because at the end of the day, it's his decision. But, I did call him when they were like, hey, look, we're looking to get Carrick. I was like, oh, man, great, because, I know what he'll be able to do in this offense, right? So as soon as I heard that, I made the call and just let him know what Hamilton has to offer. Sometimes, leaving the place is hard, especially when you had, great team success there. You got guys that you created a tight bond with. It's always hard leaving. But, I wanted to show them the fact that the grass is greener. That the locker room is very similar within guys, and what matters the most with the locker room keeping the main thing, that's important, going out, figuring out how to get better and not get worse, not get a step behind, that's what we're about. Guys, you know, that care for one another, not guys that are me guys, selfish teammates. No, we don't have any of that in our locker room. So you're gonna be getting that same, that family, you're gonna be getting that same love. I just wanted to let them know that don't be afraid, to taking that leap of faith. Don't have any regrets because I was second guessing a little bit, like leaving Winnipeg and everything like that, because I've left once before and it wasn't the greatest. Um, but when I was leaving, they reassured me that you know everything's going to be great here, and they 100% kept their word.
Was it giving you those old vibes like you had just left Winnipeg the year before when you were talking to Carrick and it did work out so you knew how good it could be?
Yeah, definitely had the first season. And man, like I said, career highs, right, for a 31-year-old in the CFL is amazing. So I credit that to my teammates, my coaches, for having trust and the faith in me to go out and be able to do so for us. And for a guy like Carrick, we're gonna be asking the same thing, for any of the guys coming in. And it's about taking that next step, whatever that is for you, whether it's the stats, whether it's the leadership role. Um, it's just, taking the next step where you need to go as an individual, a player, for the team success. And when I got here, that's exactly what it was. And that's what I'm trying to preach to Carrick because you're definitely going to be better here. You're going to feel better here. You're going to get treated better here. Everything is going to be a lot better. And I don't want you to have to second guess yourself because I lived with second guesses and regrets, and I don't want that for anybody, any of my brothers. So
You can see the bond that you developed with Zach Laros behind the scenes here at the Hamilton Convention Center. But you got a quick, comfortable rapport with Bo Levi Mitchell.
yeah.
He threw for over 5,000 yards. You just said you had a career best season with him at 31 years old.
Mhm.
How did that mesh so well and so quickly?
Oh man, I put it on the veteranship, of guys. The type of player that Bo is, not just through his professional experience, but just his football experience. He's been a quarterback his whole life. Knows what he wants. Knows what works best for him. And me being a veteran, me being having so many different quarterbacks that I've caught balls from. Um, I just want to be able to get on the same page as you, build the chemistry as soon as possible. And it's not, you know, to combat, no, you got to do it like this. It's a joint effort as far as, what works best. When I do this, do you like that? And he's so in tune with the game, so in tune with what he wants. And I love the game so much. I know, if you're telling me this, I gotta give you that. I gotta paint this picture for you so that you can see it clearly in the pocket. And I know just being a receiver for a long time, if I'm able to do that, I'm able to gain his trust. And yeah, from that first week of training camp, the trust was gained, got to work then and just continued to build on it. That first preseason game, I think I had like 7 targets in the first quarter. First opening target came to me, and that was a glimpse of, oh, Bo's gonna throw that thing. He's gonna give you a shot. And that's something I've always heard that, Bo, sometimes the picture might not be right, but he knows if you got a dog out there, if you got a guy that you really trust, that you think is better than anyone in, any defender, he's gonna give you a shot. And, for the most part, Bo, he's such a gifted quarterback that he could just put it there, effortlessly. It's routine for him. So just for me to go out there and make the catch, you know, like I just, I owe that to him for, him gracing me with a target. And, that's how we work. I want to be able to, just like I said, paint the picture for him.
We saw that routinely with you last year and over the years, but in particular last year, you going up and making head top catches man on man with double coverage, sometimes even in triple coverage. And the honest thought that comes to my mind, at least, and I think a lot of other fans' minds, Kenny, is how's this dude, with all due respect to the CFL, not in the NFL? But it seems like you've made peace with that.
Yeah, no, I made peace with it. Like I said, you can't go in life with regrets, holding stuff, that you wish you would have done better. The only thing you could do is just act on it, right? How do you get better? That's a blessing of being a football player, right? Is like I look at my life, my shortcomings, just anything that's been bad, any adversity that's came my way. I look at that as film. And what does that mean? Well, after the game, the day of the game, what are we doing as professional or college, just any type of athlete? We're going in the next day and figuring out if we won, still, where can we get better? If we lost, where could we get better? And my life, I look at it just, deeply like film. And there's been, a couple of instances where, I didn't make the most of my opportunity, especially in the NFL. And, I had to look closely at it and understand where did I go wrong. And coming up to the CFL, it was one of those things that I was not going to let an opportunity like this slide again. And I had to learn from it.
How have you matured?
Yeah.
Because it seems like you're so introspective now with the way that you go about your business and you think and that you treat people. Not that I was around you a lot at the start of your career, but just from talking with you.
Yeah, nah, man. Uh, I owe it to, my teammates, man. 2018, 19, 21, right? Those 3 years were a big turning point in my life. Um, got the NFL stripped away from me, a lifelong dream. I've always been a kid that holds, a chip on his shoulder. Want to be a gritty kid to be able to, show his love for the game, however it comes out. And 2018, it was very that. I came in not really understanding how family oriented teams were in the CFL. Coming from the NFL, everyone's getting paid, and majority got a family back home. Up here, there's players that could be doing something else for more money that they're getting paid in the CFL. But the thing is, they love football that much, right? That they want to be here and spend this time with us. And when I got to Winnipeg, I was a fiery dude, and I was a chirper.
You seem so laid back now.
Yeah, man. I ain't got nothing to prove. I've proved a lot. At peace, and it's just being a good demonstration of what that looks like. Especially to these young, fiery, energetic rookies. First year players that come into this league because I was there. So on my journey, I had to understand, what it was being a player up here. And I've been seeing skillful players with bad attitude, you know, um, get removed from the game and they're not playing no more, right? And stepping into the locker room, there was a lot of guys that held me accountable as far as FIFA. And every team has, their
Mantra or
motto, what they call it. But at the end of the day, that's what it is because me, I just messed up my dream, right? NFL. So you're coming to the CFL. CFL is gonna go on with or without you. How bad do you want it? And when I got here, I seen guys that wanted it bad, and I just fell in line and understood what it looked like. And if you want to be at the top of the game, you know, how to conduct yourself, the level of professionalism that you have to have. At the end of the day, it's just maturing, right? It's just maturing, adding perspective to, to your life. And during those 3 seasons, in 2.5, I got there, 2018, and midway in the season. But during those 2.5 years, I grew so much.
You are at the top of the game in the CFL. I think a lot of fans are going to have eyeballs on you this year to see what you can do if you get close to 2,000. It was great chopping it up with you. Thanks so much for the time, man.
Hey, no, thank you, brother. You have a good one. And hey, Third Down Nation, big shout out. Appreciate y'all.